Okay, the fluids have been checked.
Yep.
We're in the car. Have the keys in the ignition. It's time to fire this podcast up. And it is. The Cordova fires up for episode number 19 of the WaltPar Podcast. Hello, everyone. Scott Gresser here, and welcome. It's great to have you here, uniting all generations and types of Mopar fans, lovers, and enthusiasts everywhere. Like I said, this is episode number 19, and I am your host, Scott Gresser, Mopar since 1960. Always grateful to have you here. Join me here on the WaltPar Podcast. My email is waltparpodcast@aol.com, and you can find me on most social media. Search WaltPar Podcast, and on YouTube and Rumble, search WaltPar. Boy, did I screw up. What I thought was a full episode for episode number 18, the last one, wound up to start out without my introductory monologue and went straight into the interview I had with John Roberts of the North American Little Red Express owners. Great interview. I enjoyed it very much. Of course, it was from my era, and I used to work at the Dodge dealer when those things were new. So we had a lot to talk about, and it was a great interview. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did. If not, go back and listen to episode number 18. Now, how did I find Mr. Roberts? Well, it started out on Friday, June 6th, when I was going to start putting more of my 1971 Demon 340 back together, which I still haven't touched in months, and I know I have to get back to it, but you know me, I'm a terrible manager of time, and I had these 3 extra conventions come up in the state of Ohio, so I had to cover them, so that took a lot of time, which was fine. It was great. More on those later. But I decided to check out Facebook first to see what was going on before I went out to the car. I guess you could say it's procrastinating, but I did it. So when I did, I found Tim Wolf wondering why he was seeing a bunch of Little Red Express trucks running around the southern end of Cleveland, Ohio. Another gentleman replied back, and he said the Little Red Express Truck National Convention was going on in Strongsville. Strongsville, Ohio is a south suburb of Cleveland, which is about 50 miles away from my home. Now, that gentleman was Ken Crawford, who knew of the convention. He gave me the details of what was happening and told me where they were meeting. I want to thank Mr. Crawford for helping me out. Thank you so much, Ken. It really helped me out. I had the day off regardless, so my wife Angie and we headed north to Strongsville. When we got there, I started introducing myself, handing out business cards to the participants. And at that time, there were a little less than 30 Little Reds there. And it was under their tent that they had set up that I met John Roberts, the president of the North American Little Red Express Truck Owners Club. And out of the blue, I did the interview that you can hear again on the most recent episode, number 18 of the WaltPar Podcast. Everyone at the National Little Red Express Convention was great. There was a gentleman there from Ontario who had one that had a Viper V10 engine in it, and he was from Ontario, Canada. And I told him about the story I told you about in episode 17 about Americans not welcome in Canada because of President Donald Trump saying he would like Canada to become the 51st state in the United States. Now, he backed up what Michelle from the Mopar Fest staff told me, and he told me the Canadians are only mad at President Trump and not the citizens of the United States. So again, if you were planning on going to Mopar Fest in New Hamburg, Ontario, August 16th and 17th, 2025, please go. They would love to see you. As you know, I am no longer doing the news on Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram brands worldwide on the podcast. But I'm still providing the links to the articles I sourced my report from on my social media, so please continue to check them out. And thanks to all of you that do check out the posts I have on my social media, which is Facebook, X, Threads, Reddit, and yes, on those you can find those articles all right there. Now, I can still pull, and also Blue Sky. Let's not forget Blue Sky. Now, I still pull from a lot of sources and normally link all that pertains to the traditional Chrysler brands. So please check it out. I've got all kinds of sources for you, and I might even repeat an article if it's that hot for all the publications. I still post all of those as well. But there was an exception. I did not purposely pull 2 articles from the list. Why? Well, those articles were where they interviewed former Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares about his thoughts on what's been happening in the auto industry. Carlos? Why would someone ask him about the auto industry? Look what he did. He was laying off all kinds of people, factory and office, professionals or whatever. He didn't keep promises on what the future was. Yeah, it's coming out soon. But we never saw anything come out except the Charger. Didn't understand the corporation's largest market, which is North America. And while he was working there and just thinking everything's all great, he watched his stock price fall on the corporation he works for. And on top of that, we had dropping sales numbers of units sold at the dealerships. Constant changes in the higher positions there all the time that I kept reporting before. It was just getting depressing and so much more. I read the 2 articles, but he wasn't worth the time to read those articles or hear what he had to say. It wasn't worth it. In an article I read by Byron Hurd of thedrive.com, Carlos claimed he didn't communicate well with the American dealerships, what he wanted to accomplish. Well, Mr. Tavares, you may not have communicated well enough to them, but they knew exactly what you were up to, and it was not good. In fact, during his tenure there, and as I was doing the news on the podcast, it was getting so depressing. I bought Mopars all of my life, but I was even questioning my loyalty to them now with him there, with any future vehicle purchases that I may make. I'm in good shape, so I won't need to buy one for a long time unless somebody hits me or whatever, but that's all gone. And how things are looking up, and they're looking up fast. It didn't take much, but my faith is returning. Think of it this way. John Elkann, the chairman of the board at Stellantis, he got what was going on. And it led to the hiring of North American chairman Antonio Filosa to become the new CEO of Stellantis. And he's planning on having his home office in Michigan. Tim Kuniskis returned to become the CEO of Ram and has been promoted to an additional position on top of him being CEO of Ram to what I think is the chairman of the American brands. And since he came back, the 5.7-liter e-Torque Hemi is coming back and will be in the 2026 Ram 1500s. And after that announcement came out, more than 10,000 orders were sent in from the dealerships wanting Hemi-powered Ram 1500s. But please remember this, ladies and gentlemen. The Hemi will not be replacing the Hurricane engine. The Hemi will be in addition to what is currently available to provide consumers and customers with more powertrain choices for the Ram trucks. And while we're on the subject of Ram, let's not forget, Ram will be returning to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series starting in 2026. Also, Chrysler CEO Christine Fuel went to Chrysler's at Carlisle this year to help celebrate Chrysler's 100th anniversary, and publicly announced with enthusiasm during a question and answer period with the attendees, there is a new Chrysler vehicle that will be coming out. And also, Tim Kuniskis announced that SRT will be making a return and new engineers and designers are being hired to get that program going again. But remember, folks, we'll have to wait and see what will happen. There have been some changes in the automotive landscape the past few years. As if anybody notices, it's been there. And please keep in mind this. Remember the saying, the brotherhood of muscle? Well, that never, did they just say gasoline only? They did not. And Tim Kuniskis brings it up briefly, but he says, this will include electric as well as internal combustion. But still, the brotherhood of muscle, no matter how it's powered, it's got to be exciting. So we'll see what happens in the future. So really, a lot is happening right now, and I'm feeling good about what will be coming in the future. We will keep you up to date with all the news on my social media, so please search WaltPar Podcast. As you know, my motto or slogan is uniting all generations and types of Mopar fans, lovers, and enthusiasts everywhere. Since I started this podcast almost 2 years ago, I've covered a lot from approximately 1966 to the current vehicles. But now it's time to go back even further in the past. Now, you heard me at the end of the interview I had on episode number 18 of the WaltPar Podcast that I will be previewing this, going back in time, and future 2 episodes of the WaltPar Podcast will be concentrating on Mopars built before 1960, maybe 62, but really old Mopars. Why am I bringing this up? Well, a lot of us who are in the old car hobby, we tend to buy vehicles we fell in love with while we were in our teens and our 20s. I'm a perfect example of that. I was a junior in high school when my 1971 Demon 340 was new. I purchased it in 1979. And I was 22 years old when I purchased, when the 1976 Cordoba I owned was new. I did buy it 1 year old, in 1977, I was 23. But now, in my opinion, we are facing, and I'm not sure if I would call this a crisis or not, but I do consider it an area of concern where older vehicles will be needing new owners due to their current owners being either too old to take care of them or not having the ability or the funds to take care of them. So what does the future of these vehicles hold? I don't know. I don't have any answers. They always say if you're going to complain of something, you better have a solution for it, which I do fully believe, but I don't have a solution for this. But I wanted to bring these vehicles to light. You see, we've seen prices on classic vehicles skyrocket, especially the muscle cars and exotics. They went really way, way up. Now, there have been signs that certain prices are moderating, but they are still expensive. Maybe these vehicles, these older ones, may be a cheaper way to get you or anybody else in and have fun with a classic vehicle hobby. Now, some of those things is the ease of being able to repair these vehicles mechanically, and that could be a reason to purchase an older classic. Sheet metal might be a different story depending on the car, but some cases you can, some cases you can't, especially if you're handy. That helps out. But parts you might need may be an issue as well. But like with any vehicle, no matter how famous or how rare it is, you need to do your research before you even purchase it. Now, maybe you're not an old car buff, but maybe a history buff, and you want to relive the old days or see how things were done. That's another reason. Now, there are some of the reasons I came up with. Maybe you have others. Email me at WaltParPodcast@AOL, and I'll put them back on the next podcast, because the next 2 will be on the old vehicles. So please keep that in mind. My guest today on the feature portion of the WaltPar Podcast is Barry Coggin. Now, I talked to Barry when he was at the Dodge Brothers National Convention that was held in June in Berlin, Ohio, the same weekend as the National North American Little Red Express Truck Owners Association meeting. And we talked in the lobby of the Berlin Grand Hotel in Berlin, Ohio. That's down in Amish country. Barry is currently the historian of the Dodge Brothers Club. He's held other positions there at the club, but he is currently the historian. Now, the Dodge Brothers Club covers Dodges that were made between 1914 and 1938. And we'll be talking about the club and get into some history and talk about the cars. One thing I got to tell you, I did not take any pictures because the convention actually started Sunday the 8th. I was down there the night before on the 7th. This has been sort of another funky summer in Ohio where it's either rained or it's been super hot. And it rained, and the cars were in their haulers and stuff, so no sense getting them out. And due to schedule conflicts, I was unable to get back down to Berlin to take pictures of the cars when they were out and about. But so sorry I didn't take any pictures. I'm sure there were some beautiful cars there. But there's one thing I got to say before we start the conversation. I want to thank Teresa Jensen. She lives in Michigan. When I was calling to get the interview set up, for the convention, her phone number was the contact number, and she was the one that personally set up the interview with Barry and me to meet. Thank you so much, Teresa. I appreciate it very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here is my interview with Barry Coggin of the Dodge Brothers Club. Comes on. Okay. With me right now on the WaltPar Podcast is Mr. Barry Coggin, and he is the historian of the Dodge Brothers Club. Is it Dodge Brothers Club of America?
Just Dodge Brothers Club Incorporated.
Okay, Dodge Brothers Club Incorporated. What is your position there? I said the historian. What does the historian do?
What the historian in the club does is keep track of all activities that the club has. Keep a record of materials, club-related materials, just about anything that the club does. The historian is responsible for keeping a record. And because of that, ends up being a resource person for anytime somebody needs to know what did we do in a certain year or something like that. The club historian would be the person to contact for that. Okay.
Now, do you keep not just club records, do you keep other historical records of the cars as a whole?
No.
In other words, or a history, like maybe some books or specs that maybe someone left behind or anything like that?
No. The club does have quite an archive collection. We have all kinds of manuals, photos, technical material available to club members, and we house it all at the AACA library in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So the club historian is not responsible for that kind of material. Anytime that somebody donates that kind of thing to the club, why it goes to the archives in Hershey at the AACA library.
And AACA is Antique Automobile Club of America.
Yes, that's
just
correct.
For people that don't know.
Exactly.
Okay. How long has the Dodge Brothers Club been around?
The club was formed at Hershey in October of 1983 and was incorporated the following year in 1984. So basically since 1983.
Okay. And that's over 40 years ago. What brought this membership on now compared to when the Dodge Brothers were done in 1938?
Good question. It all just came, it was a very grassroots type of thing. There were a bunch of people who saw each other every year at Hershey on the swap meet, and a bunch of them started talking and said, there's a bunch of us around that are restoring these old cars. Why don't we form a club? So they got together at One Hershey in 1983, and I wasn't involved at that time, and so I don't know how many people were there, but I'm guessing it was probably around 20 people that came to the first meeting, and they drew up some bylaws, and they elected officers for the club, and started printing a newsletter to send out to members, and it's just carried on since then. The club, they decided at that first meeting to limit the years of the automobiles that the club was interested in. 1914, which is the first year for Dodge Brothers, to 1938, and I'm told that they chose 1938 as the ending year for it, because that, at least they believed so then, that was the last year that Dodge Brothers appeared anywhere on the exterior of an automobile.
Okay, so yeah, it was pretty much when Chrysler took over is when that's the last year.
Well, Chrysler actually took over 10 years before that in 1928.
Okay.
But Chrysler was smart. Dodge Brothers was a very popular automobile at the time. Chrysler kept the name, although I think the general public had probably pretty much dropped the brothers by then, and everybody just referred to them as Dodges.
Okay. So would you say that 1938 was probably the year that anything that had a part of the Dodge Brothers was gone?
By part of the Dodge Brothers, you mean?
I mean, were there leftover powertrains? Was there leftover sheet metal?
No,
anything like that?
I'd say by that time, everything on the car was Chrysler.
Okay.
The Dodge Brothers both died in 1920, and then the widows sold the company. I think it was in 1923 to Dillon Reed.
Okay.
And they weren't car people. They were just an investment company, and they saw it as a cash cow.
Okay.
And thank God Walter Chrysler came along.
Yep.
And I think because of him, the company was saved.
Good.
Because Dillon Reed didn't know how to operate a car company, and Chrysler certainly did. So I think it was the best thing that could have happened to Dodge Brothers.
Okay. How many members are in your club?
Right now we're, I think, around 750.
Good.
When I joined the club in 1996, we had almost twice that number of members. We were right around between 1,400 and 1,500 members. And I think, like all car clubs, membership has just been steadily declining.
Yes, they have
over the
been.
years.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. But we've been holding pretty steady at about 750, between 750, 800. We vary for quite a number of years now.
Okay. Any youth getting interested in the cars or not? And I'm running into that with Classic Muscle with the club I belong to, so you're not alone by answering this.
It's strange. I think what most people do is when they get older, they're interested in the cars that they grew up with.
Yes.
And you eventually find the oddball like me that I like the much older stuff than that. But it's something that we fight. If you were to see the who's at our meet this week, they're almost all retirees. So it's definitely an older club. We do have a few children coming, some under the age of 10, but not very many. It's definitely the minority. But one thing that is encouraging is I also administer a Facebook group for the club. And I'm seeing, I can tell by the way people are talking about their interest in the cars, I'm seeing some younger people buying these cars and getting it involved with them and restoring them. So,
like the
I am
car,
hopeful.
not as a street rod.
That's right. They like the cars because they like the old technology, and they want the experience of an antique automobile.
Cool. That's very good.
Yeah.
So what got your interest in the cars? Because there's a lot of different cars out there and everything. Yeah. What got your interest in the Dodge Brothers cars?
Well, around 1995, when our last child graduated from college, there was some money lying around in the checking account. And I'd always been interested in old cars. You see an old car on the street, and it always catches your eye. And so I thought it'd be neat to have one of those. So I started looking for a Model A, a Ford Model A, because I knew parts were available for them, and I knew that there were a lot of them around. So I started looking, and I came across an ad in one of these newspapers that there used to be that came out bi-weekly with just ads for everything, and not just automobiles, but for everything. And I was having a hard time finding a Model A that I could afford, that was in decent condition, but drivable, restorable, and so forth. And I just came across this ad that said Dodge Estate Car, and it was 1926 touring car. And so I called about it and talked to the guy and went and took a look at it, and I fell in love with it. And I made the guy a reasonable offer, and he accepted. And that was my first car, my first old car. And what I discovered then that I had no idea was the hobby that there is around these old cars. I thought there was just people that had an old car, kept it in their garage, and they brought it out every once in a while and drove it in parades and stuff. I had no idea of the extensive hobby around antique cars. And so we started going. We went on a couple of tours, and I was interested in the cars, and my wife loved the social aspect of it, and meeting other people and everything, and seeing places that when we went on tours that we would never have gone had we not been part of this tour. And as I tell people all the time, owning an old car is a sickness. Mm-hmm. And so I started looking for my Model A again, and I found that, and I restored that, and then we wanted a closed car, so I found a closed Dodge Brothers car, and on till I've got 8 cars now. I've got 4 Dodge Brothers and 4 Fords.
My wife think I was bad having two older cars and 2 minivans. So, give us a little bit of a history of the Dodge Brothers themselves, how it started and everything.
Okay. Well, John and Horace Dodge were brothers that were very close. They were 4 years apart in age. John was born in 1864, and Horace 4 years later in 1868 in Niles, Michigan. And they grew up around a machine shop and things like that. And they moved to Michigan, or they moved to the Port Huron area of Michigan. And then they were there for a little while. And then they moved to Detroit, and then eventually across the river to Windsor. And they got involved with a man named Evans, and with him they marketed a bicycle called the Evans and Dodge bicycle. They had a patent for a special kind of sealed bearing, ball bearing on the car. And I think it was in 1901 they came back across the river to Detroit and opened a machine shop. They started building transmissions for Ransom Olds for the Curved Dash Oldsmobile. And after the Olds factory burned down, they also started supplying Olds with engines. So they were probably the major supplier of both engines and transmissions for the Curved Dash Olds. And then in 1902, Henry Ford came along, and he and Alexander Malcolmson had formed a partnership. And they approached the Dodge brothers to build essentially all of the mechanicals for a car that they wanted to produce. And so the Dodge brothers left Olds and started building parts for Ford Motor Company. It wasn't actually Ford Motor Company at the time. In June of 1903, Ford Motor Company actually incorporated, but by then the Dodge brothers were supplying, already supplying cars to Henry Ford and Alexander Malcolmson.
Now, the one thing I want to mention, too, for the listeners is Oldsmobile was not a part of General Motors yet either.
That's right.
This was his own company.
Exactly.
So I just want to clear that up.
Yep. So they started building the mechanical parts for Ford's first car, the first Model A, which was built in 1903 and 1904. And then they became minor stockholders in the Ford Motor Company when Ford ran into cash flow problems early on, and so they took Ford stock as partial payment for what they were owed. And then between 1903 and 1914, they were a major supplier to Ford Motor Company for mechanical parts on most of the what are called the Ford alphabet cars. So the models A, B, C, F, K, N, R, S, and then the Model T. And they didn't build parts for all of those cars, but they built cars for most of them. And then finally in 1914, they got tired of working for Henry Ford.
Okay.
And so they decided it was time to build their own car. And they formed a Dodge Brothers Motor Car Company. And in November of 1914, they came out with their first car.
Okay. And they had their own so-called dealership network and everything else.
Yes. Their dealership network was incredible. They had people, before they even started manufacturing a car, they had people from all over the world coming to them wanting to have a Dodge Brothers dealership. Their name in the machine business was that good.
Wow.
That people knew that their work was very, very high quality, and that their car would be very high quality. So they had a great dealership network. And in fact, that's probably one of the reasons that Walter Chrysler became so interested in buying Dodge Brothers in 1928. Number one, the huge factory they had, Dodge Main, in Hamtramck, Michigan, and number two, the dealership network that they had.
Wow, cool. What were some of the other innovations the Dodge Brothers had?
Probably the thing that they are most noted for is they're the first car company to have an all-steel body. All of their bodies were built by Budd. Well, I shouldn't say that, not all. There were some bodies that were built by Fisher a little bit later on, but the vast majority of their bodies were all steel. They did not have a wood frame with a skin, a sheet metal skin put over it, like most manufacturers were doing. So the all-steel body was probably the single most important innovation that Dodge Brothers came along with. Another thing that they had right from the very beginning was, while everybody else had 6-volt battery systems in their cars, Dodge Brothers right from the start had a 12-volt system.
Really?
Yes. Had a 12-volt system. Every car had a starter, and in fact it was a combination starter generator. So you would simply step on the starter, and it would turn the starter chain. It wasn't a flywheel starter mechanism like most cars were using. So it turned a starter change. You never heard it. All of a sudden, the car just started running, and they called it the silent starter. And the interesting thing is they used this 12-volt system from 1914 until around January of 1926. And then they switched to a 2-unit, separate starter and generator, 6-volt system. So they kind of went backwards, but it was the industry standard, and that's probably why they did it.
Yeah, because I was going to say, a friend of mine way back when had a 56 Dodge, and it was 6-volt.
Yeah.
So they eventually went back to 6-volt batteries.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Or 6-volt system, I should say.
Yep.
I'm sort of running out of questions here, but what other things progressed? What got them to sell to Chrysler?
Well, they sold when they both brothers died in 1920.
And they died from what?
John died first in January of 1920 from the flu. He and his brother were both at the New York Auto Show, and John came down with the flu, and died within a few days in New York City. Horace was heartbroken, and I think he kind of lost interest, and his health declined, and he died in December of the same year. Not sure what he died of, but it could have been remnants from the flu, because he did come down with the flu later, but not absolutely certain what the cause of his death was. Some say it was a broken heart.
Yeah, well, that could do it to people.
Yeah, because he was very, very close to his brother. Anything they did together. So they were very, very close to one another. So then their widows sold the company in 1923 to Dillon Reed, and they held the company from 1923 until 1928 when Walter Chrysler bought it. And then it became Dodge Division of Chrysler Corporation.
Wow, okay. All right. How many people are you anticipating? I am here talking to Mr. Coggin because they're having the Dodge Brothers Convention, National Convention here in Berlin, Ohio, which is not far from my house in Worcester. And I thought I'd come down and get the interview, and like my saying goes, uniting all generations and types of Mopar fans, lovers, and enthusiasts everywhere. So how many people are coming to Berlin, Ohio?
We have just a little over 100 people. I think 103 officially, if everyone comes that has registered.
And that's cars?
That's people, and we have 34 cars coming. All between 1914 and 1938, and all stock original cars. I mean, restored,
right,
but no hot rods, no modified cars or anything.
There are things I have to do with my 1976 Cordoba, like, for instance, you got to run the Rec 90 ethanol-free gas.
Yeah.
You have to buy, I use Lucas oil, high zinc oil now, and things like that, and little things you got to do just to keep them running, even though they stay stock. What are some of the things, like on your car, that you need to do? I know we love to drive them, but what do you do to keep them running to drive it for maintenance?
To tell you the truth, I maintain them just like any other car. I use just ordinary oil. Generally just a 30 weight detergent oil. I don't use any kind of gasoline additives or oil additives. These cars, at least the 20s cars that I have, were built, those engines were built before they started putting lead in gas, so there's no need for a lead substitute now. Basically, I just I treat them well, and I drive them as much as I possibly can, but I don't abuse them. It's just routine maintenance, oil changes, keep things greased and oiled and things like that, and they just run and run and run.
Are you saying you could just burn unleaded gas?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Because
on the newer cars, it would hurt. I think it's the intake valve seats on the head.
Yep.
If you didn't, and but I had the hardened valve seats already in my Cordoba, even though it was a lean burn burned regular from the factory.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it's really not that much.
No, I think when most people, if they have the engine rebuilt in these old ones, that they'll have the hardened valve seats put in just as a precaution. But I can tell you, my 24 and my 26, and I'm not sure about the 28, but I know my 24 and 26, I know they've never had the engines rebuilt in them, and they're still in excellent running condition. They don't burn oil, and they run beautifully. And no additives in the oil or the gasoline.
So what state do you live in then?
I'm in Michigan, just outside of Detroit.
Okay, so it gets cold. What for a coolant do you use?
I use just a 50-50 mix of modern antifreeze.
You mean the green?
Yep, the green antifreeze. Yep.
That's not as modern as it used to be. They got all these different colors.
I know it, yeah.
but still, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can. So it's really not. I asked a gentleman one time. He had a Model T. Mm-hmm. I go, do you have to do much to it? He goes, I got to do stuff to it all the time. Now, I don't know if that was maintenance or if that was he had to keep things put together, or he had to check this and check that. But according with your cars, you can, outside of checking the fluids, you can go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I've got 3 Model Ts also.
Do you?
Yeah, and I treat them the same way. I just maintain them well. I don't use any special additives or anything in the fuel, oil, with those cars either. They're a little higher maintenance, I'd say, than the Dodge Brothers cars, just because of the way they were built. But I love them both. I love the Model T just like I love the Dodge Brothers. But
well, no, because I got to put a octane booster in my car, because the Rec 90 with the 404 barrel just big time. So that's actually pretty nice then.
Yeah. Now some people have had issues with gasoline, and they use wrecked gas in these cars. I've never had an issue, and I'd say probably if you were to ask the 100 people that come, probably not more than a quarter to a third of them will say that they prefer to use the wrecked gas, the non-ethanol gas.
What octane?
Just regular 87 octane.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I wonder why the kid. What's the pricing on the cars now? Are they getting way up there like everything else? Or?
No. Surprisingly, the Dodge Brothers cars are a rare car compared to the Model T or the Model A, something like that. But the prices are not high. You can get a very decent running car, Dodge Brothers car, for under $10,000 still.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the top speed in your cars? Or
in the 4-cylinder cars, between 35 and 40.
Okay.
It'll go faster, but it only has 2-wheel, rear wheel, mechanical, external contracting brakes.
Gotcha.
So it's not the going, it's the stopping.
There you go. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, because here's what you're going to find out. You're here in Amish country.
Oh, yeah.
So if those cars had a mind and a memory, they'll go back to the good old days when they had to pass all the Amish buggies or horse and buggies in there when they were new.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to do the same thing here with the Amish.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Well, Barry, you want to add anything? I really don't have anything else that you want to say to boost the club. How do people get in touch with the club and like that?
We have a website, dodgebrothersclub.org.
Okay.
And we have a Facebook page, Dodge Brothers Club Inc.
Okay.
So you can find us either of those places. Right now, our website is under renovation. It's showing its age, so we've hired some people to spruce it up for us.
Okay.
But it's still in operation.
Okay.
And we would love to have people get in touch with it and get interested in these cars.
All right. Very good. Barry Coggin, historian of the Dodge Brothers Club. Thank you so much for joining me today on the WaltPar Podcast.
You're welcome, Scott. Thank you for inviting me.
You betcha. You take care and have fun while you're here in Ohio.
We intend to.
All right. Take care, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Well, what do you think about that? A full history lesson and everything else, including the history of the club, history of the Dodge Brothers. And it sort of reminded me something of the merger of equals. If you remember that in Chrysler Corporation history, that is when they sold Chrysler Corporation to the German company Daimler-Benz. And they said this was supposed to be a merger of equals. Well, we all found out with due history that it was more or less, in my opinion, and I've heard it from others as well, that this was not really a merger of equals. This was a matter of a corporation that had lots and lots of money and earned a lot of money and learned its lessons from the past be purchased and then have that money taken away from them and take that corporation they took the money away from wet and just put them away wet and worked them hard. And that's exactly, in my opinion, what Daimler-Benz did with Chrysler. And they took the money and Chrysler had nothing. And that merger of equals Remember those great interiors those cars had that they put out for designs? Now, I personally work at a Napa store now delivering parts in my vehicle. Of course, it's the Mopar. It's a 2010 Grand Caravan. And that dashboard is so cheap in that thing and the design and everything. They did no research like they would have if it was one of their Mercedes cars. And so it just burned me up to no end. You try to keep a positive head on certain things, and then you don't. And then when you look back at history, this was not one of the bright spots of Chrysler. But there were some great things that did come out of that, though. Really, you got to remember certain things did happen. They designed the T300 Ram that came out in 1994, which took everybody in the industry all by surprise. And Dodge trucks went from worst to first and nothing flat with that. There's some talk on when the Hemi, the Gen 3 Hemi came out. Was it being researched before Daimler bought it? But at least Daimler came through. Daimler had us in NASCAR with Dodge trucks and Dodge cars. And so there were some good things that come out of it. But at the end, Chrysler was left with nothing and pretty much given to people. Cerberus tried to buy it. They didn't do much. And then it was still left to dry. And, they call Bob Lutz Maximum Bob, and there's good reasons for that. Well, it was Bob Nardelli, who I called himself Minimum Bob, who took over for Chrysler when it was Chrysler Group LLC. And then FCA Chrysler, Sergio did some good things, but he also took the money, not really take the money, but he kept money coming in without doing anything to provide a future for Chrysler, the Chrysler brands. And here we are now, and Carlos took it way, way worse, as you heard me discuss earlier. And then here's where we are now. But Tim Kuniskis, like I said, is back. The thing is, I didn't hear anything from John. We've heard from Christine Fuel. We've heard from Tim Kuniskis. We know Bob Broderdorf is out there at Jeep, but I didn't hear a thing from John McAleer yet from Dodge, so we'll see what happens. They are bringing back a Durango SRT Hellcat for next year, but still, that's all on current platforms. What does the future hold is what we're going to really find out. Tim Kuniskis has helped us so far, so we'll see what happens. So, yeah, this merger of equals that I was talking about, well, what blends in with this is another merger of equals in the beginning was when Chrysler purchased the Dodge brothers. The Dodge brothers came out first in 1914. Chrysler, came out in 2024 or 5, depending on who you talk to. Just remember, we just got done with Chrysler's at Carlisle. As I'm recording this, it is July 26th, 2025. Chrysler's at Carlisle was over. It was a great event for the 100th anniversary of Chrysler. You heard me talk about that earlier in the podcast here on episode 19. But that was another merger of equals because the Dodge brothers, if you heard, have engineered a lot of great stuff. Chrysler did too. Walter P. Chrysler, I forget the 2 or 3 other gentlemen he had with him that really got the ball rolling and did some really neat stuff with the Chrysler brand as well as when they had Dodge and everything. You can find more about that in David Zatz's book, on the first 100 years of Chrysler. Look that up. You can get it on Barnes & Noble or Amazon or wherever you want to go. But that's a great book. A lot of facts in it for that. But that, to me, was a better merger of equals than whatever that Daimler-Chrysler deal was, by a long shot. They were both tops in engineering, and to me, that was the real merger of equals. Now, I hope you enjoyed listening to Barry Coggin, because I sure did, and I learned a lot from that interview. So coming up on episode number 20 of the WaltPar Podcast, that's right, episode number 20. I've done this for a little less than 2 years now, and I'm up to episode 20, so that's pretty good. Almost one a month. That's not bad. But this will be part 2 of 3 podcasts, like I said, dedicated to the Mopars made before 1960. In episode 20, I will be talking to Craig Lane of the Ohio chapter of the National DeSoto Club. And while that National DeSoto Convention has come and gone, it was very much worthwhile. When we talked, it was like a preview. The convention has come and gone. As you know, it was a great event. A lot of cars were there. I took a lot of pictures. You can find those pictures again on all my social media, as well as Instagram. So look at those great cars there, and you'll see what I mean. But we'll be talking about the DeSoto Convention, talking about some DeSotos. And like I said, it was a preview. And episode 21 will be where I talk with youth, getting into the real old car market. There was 3 great youthful people that were there. It was Dave, Carl, and Kristen. We'll be talking to them on episode 21. Episode 20 will be with Craig. So please stay tuned. We have more coming up, and I got more interviews I got to get done. I'm hoping to get Austin Sprangler. He is the gentleman behind Obsolete Automotive, a very young person who's into the cars of the 50s and the early 60s. So I'm hoping to get an interview with him and make that complete for episode number 21. Well, again, it's towards the end of the podcast here. If you have an all Mopar event, be it a show, swap meet, etc., please let me know. You can email me your flyer at WaltParPodcast@AOL.com or message me on my social media at WaltPar Podcast. This is for Mopar-only events, no all makes, please. And please, prior to going to any event you're going to, make sure you contact the event staff to make sure that event is still going on. You never know what came up. COVID was a nightmare with that. Little story behind that. During the year of COVID, we were supposed to have our car show at an outlet mall parking lot that year in Medina County, Ohio. And then all of a sudden they said, well, due to COVID, you can't have it. But yet, that same weekend, there was a car show that had over 600 cars with the State Highway Patrol running traffic and everything. That one was allowed to go, but ours wasn't. Makes you wonder if they really think about the health of the people. But, hey, it is what it is. Things can come up. Weather, news events, whatever. Please give them a call to make sure if it's still going on. Again, I want to thank so much for you joining me. Thanks to Barry Coggin of the historian of the Dodge Brothers Club for his contribution with episode number 19. And I also have to give a thanks out to Teresa Jensen. When I wanted to set up this interview prior to them coming to Ohio for their national convention, the contact number was hers. And I gave her a call and told her who I was. We had a couple great conversations together. And she's the one that set me up for the time for me to be with Mr. Coggin in Berlin, Ohio. So I have to thank Teresa Jensen, who lives in the great state of Michigan, for that so much. Now remember, you can join me as well on most social media. Search WaltPar Podcast. Please tell your Mopar fans, lovers, and enthusiasts everywhere about the WaltPar Podcast. I would appreciate it very, very much. And please, if you can, subscribe wherever you listen. And if you feel I did a good enough job, please give me a top rating. Any questions or comments, suggestions for programming, future topics or whatever that you might want me to get into, email me at WaltParPodcast@AOL.com, or you can snail mail me at P.O. Box 455, Apple Creek, Ohio. That's 2 words, Apple Creek, Ohio, 44606. You can also direct message me on my social media. I am on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, Reddit. So I'm on all those. And Blue Sky. I forgot about Blue Sky. I'm on Blue Sky as well. So make sure you direct message me if you have any comments, as well as mailing me. That's fine. Now, before we go to the event calendar, which always ends our podcast, please do your part in uniting your fellow Mopar fan, lover, enthusiast. Please do your part in uniting all of us. Whenever you go to a car show or a cruise-in, find a Mopar that is totally different than yours and say hello to them. Remember, the news event calendar is now a part of the Walter P. Chrysler Club News. To find that listing, you can join the club. Go to chryslerclub.org for more information. They're a great group of people. That's the Walter P. Chrysler Club. Now, thank you so much again for listening. Hope you join me here next time for the next episode. That would be number 20 of the WaltPar Podcast. And as Mike Bonadonna of the Citrus County, Florida, USA Mopar Club says, keep those highways beautiful. Drive your Mopar, uniting all generations and types of Mopar fans, lovers, and enthusiasts everywhere. From Walter P. Chrysler to today's Mopar and beyond, this has been the WaltPar Podcast. Take care, everyone. The WaltPar Podcast is a production of Auto Catawba, LLC. Now, to finish up the podcast, let's go to the event calendar. As you know, the days are getting less now because the year's going on. And some of these are also planning for 2026. I will not do those until after the first of the year. So we start off in the great state of California, September 25th, the 33rd annual fall finale at Sierra Bicentennial Park in Clovis, California. $30 entry fee if you register by September 15th. After that, it's $40 and the day of the show. Hosting club is the San Joaquin Valley Mopar Club. That's SANJOAQUIN let me say that again. SANJOAQUIN ValleyMopars.com for more information. October 4th, Mopar Day in the Park at Hagen Community Park, Rancho Cordova, California. Hosting club is the Capital City Mopars. August 18th, the Fall Fling All Mopar Show and Parts Exchange at Woodley Park, Van Nuys, California. Hosting clubs, there's two of them. Southern California Mopar Car Club and Chrysler Performance West Club. More information, cpwclub.com in the great state of Connecticut, September 21st. 17th Annual Innovators Show and Shine All Mopar Show at Artioli Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Enfield. That's Enfield, Connecticut, from 9 until 3. Hosting club is the Mopars in Motion. Contact Ralph Barbagallo at 860-416-1228 or go to moparinmotion.com. Now, there's a date change because it normally would be coming up soon in the fall. Mopars at the Beach will be coming a spring event, which will be held March 10th through the 14th, 2026 in the Daytona Beach area. MoparsAtTheBeach.org or search as one word Mopars at the Beach on Facebook for more and future information. November 1st and 2nd, Mopars with Big Daddy at the Garlits Drag Racing Museum in Ocala, Florida. 352-245-8661 or go to garlits.com for more information. The great state of Illinois, September 7th, the 618 Mopar Meet at the Lake at North Markham Beach in Benton, Illinois. Hosting club is the 618 Mopar Club. Great state of Indiana, October 11th, it's the 5th annual Speeds Mopar Day at Speeds New Hope Indiana Dragway in Spencer, Indiana. The show will go on from 11 a.m. until 5 p.m. Phone 317-410-4705. Leave a message or email them at Speeds New Hope Indiana Dragway at gmail.com. August 3rd in Iowa, the great state of Iowa. It's Mopar Day at Humboldt County Dragway in Humboldt, Iowa. Hosting club will be the North Iowa Mopars. Search Mopar Max, that's Max with two X's, Mopar Max on Facebook. August 24th, it's the Mopars on the Mississippi Car Show. That will be held at the Dubuque County Fairgrounds in Dubuque, Iowa, from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. The hosting club is the Chicagoland Mopar Connection. Contact for show information, Rick at RICKATHY1953 at gmail.com. That's Rick Cathy 1953 at gmail.com or call them at 815-930-1776. Now for swap meet information, contact Ron Barton at 563-588-4585 or go to chicagolandmopar.com for more information. September 12th through the 24th in the great state of Kentucky. It's the Great Holly Mo Party at Beach Bend Raceway Park in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Go to moparty.com, moparty.com for more information. October 3rd through the 5th. It's the Mopar Drag Fest at London Dragway, London, Kentucky. Contact Craig Boone, 606-231-3446, or Bob Rogers 859-338-6850. In the great state of Maryland, this will be part of the Modern Street Hemi Shootout weekend. It's the Mopar Eastern Classic and King of Street Heads Up Mopar Racing. It will be held at Maryland International Raceway at Mechanicsville, Maryland. And the website to go for more information is goracemir.com. The great state of Michigan, September 20th, the 13th annual Michigan Mopar Muscle Club All Mopar Car Show and Swap Meet, which will be held from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Hub Stadium in Auburn Hills, Michigan. Hosting club is the Michigan Mopar Muscle Car Club. Go to michiganmoparmuscle.com or email them at showinfo@michiganmoparmuscle.com. In the great state of Mississippi, October 9th, Mopars in Da Bay at Bay, St. Louis, Mississippi. Phone 504-512-0367. The hosting club, Louisiana's own Big Easy Mopar Association. Go to bigeasymopar.org for more information. In Missouri, now this was an event that was normally held in late spring, early summer. It has moved to October 18th and 19th. It's the St. Louis Mopar Blast. It will be held at Worldwide Technology Raceway in Madison, Illinois. Madison, Illinois is a part of the St. Louis metropolitan area. It will be hosted by Mopar Blast Incorporated, a registered 501c3 nonprofit. For more information, St. Louis, that's stlouismoparblast.com. The great state of Nebraska, September 6th, the 19th annual Mopar Mega Meet at Papillon La Vista South High School Stadium in Papillon, Nebraska. Contact Dan at 402-740-1054 or go to highimpactperformance.org. There is a rain date, October 4th, 2025. Great state of New York, August 13th through the 17th. The annual Chrysler 300 Club International Fall Meet will be hosted by Jamie Hyde, Ron Klinzar, and Bob Merritt in the Buffalo, New York area. Transit Town, that's Transit Town with an E at the end, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Williamsville, New York will be hosting the festivities. More information, Chrysler300club.com. September 14th, Mopars at the Valley Car Show and Swap Meet at Lebanon Valley Dragway in East Chatham, New York. Hosting club will be the Capital Area Mopars, or you can go to dragway.com for more information. The great state of North Carolina. This is in conjunction with the Modern Street Hemi Shootout as well. November 15th is Fall Mopars at the Rock at Rockingham Dragway, Rockingham, North Carolina. rockinghamdragway.com for more information. Up in Canada, Nova Scotia, August 17th. It's the annual Dartmouth Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Mopar Show, and it will be held, of course, in Dartmouth. That's Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Rain date will be August 24th. Call Gary 902-449-4321. The hosting club, and they used to be very active on Facebook, but they're still around. Still a great organization. Mopar Maritime will be the hosting club. Still lots of events in Ohio. As you know, it's the most number of Mopar events of any state in the United States. August 1st to the 3rd, it's Mopar Madness at 42, held at Dragway 42 in West Salem, Ohio. You can go to dragway42.com. They're also on Facebook. They also have their own Facebook event page for the Mopar Madness at 42. Also during the show portion will also be the 34th annual Mid-Ohio Mopar Show, which will be a part of Mopar Madness 42. That will be held on Saturday the 2nd with a rain day of August 3rd. So show cars, race cars. It's going to be a great weekend up there at Dragway 42. August 8th through the 10th, the following weekend in Ohio. It's the 43rd Annual Nationals at National Trail Raceway, Kirkersville, Ohio, east of Columbus, Ohio. Again, I tried this website before, and it didn't work again, moparnats.org. I'm sure you can call the track. They can also help you out, too, at National Trail Raceway. So They keep working on the glitches, but yes, the Nationals will be held August 8th through 10th. National Trail Raceway in Kirkersville, Ohio, which is east of Columbus, right on US 40. September 21st. Actually, we'll go with September 18th through the 21st. It's the third annual Ken Galley Mopar Mania presented by Edelbrock Performance. Now, this show used to be called the World of Mopar, but this year they've changed the name to Mopar Mania, MOPOWER Mania. It will be held again at Summit Motorsports Park in Norwalk, Ohio. Go to summitmotorsportspark.com for more information. On that same weekend on this Sunday, it's the annual Classic Chrysler Car Club of Toledo Car Show. This has been a long-running event. This year again, it will be held at York Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on the Central Avenue Strip in Toledo. Contact Dan Russell at 419-466-3863 for more information. In the great state of Oklahoma. Now, this was normally held in May, but this year it will be in the fall. It is the 5th annual Southern Plains Mopar Fest hosted by the city of Bristow, Oklahoma, and the Bristow, Oklahoma Historical Society in Bristow, Oklahoma. For more information, go to southernplainsmoparfest.com. November 1st. The 19th annual Mopars at the Park Car Show, Drag Racing, and Swap Meet at Tulsa Raceway Park, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Phone 918-645-9078 or email Lexi F, that is LEXIEF, at Valornet, VALORNET.com, or go to her Facebook page. Just search in one word, Lexi Fowl, LEXIEFOWLE. In Ontario, Canada, it is the Mopar Fest, Canada's largest all-Mopar car show, which will be held August 16th and 17th from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. each day at 251 Jacob Street in New Hamburg, Ontario. MoparFest.com for more information. They'd love to see everybody back there again. The great state of Oregon. August 3rd, 40th Annual Woodburn Drag Strip Mopar Nationals. This is at Woodburn Drag Strip in Woodburn, Oregon. Go to woodburndragstrip.com for more information or call 541-746-4620. The great state of Pennsylvania. August 29th through September 1st, it is the Northeast Hemi Owners Club Fall Meet, which will be held in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. That's all I really have. You can go to nehoa.org for more information. September 15th, the 26th Annual Mopar Muscle of Central Pennsylvania Show will be held at Kaiser Brothers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Muncie, Pennsylvania. That's MUNCY. Hosting club will be the Mopar Muscle of Central Pennsylvania. Their website, moparmuscleofcentralpa.com for more information. The great state of South Carolina, October 22nd through the 25th. It's Mopar Fever in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Michael's doing a great job. I forget his wife's name. My apology, but they do a great job putting that together. You can go to 8F3mopars.org or go to their Facebook page of the same name and to view their activity and for more information. The great state of Tennessee, September 27th, 2025. It is the 36th Annual Music City Mopar Club Show, which will be held at the Wilson County Fairgrounds in Lebanon, Tennessee. Hosting club will be the Music City Mopar Club. You can go to the website at musiccitymoparclub.com or call 615-972-1056. The great state of Texas, October 9th through the 11th. It is the 15th Lone Star Mopar Fest in Houston, Texas, hosted by the Space City LX Club. Go to lsmfwknd.com for more information. October 18th, it's the Dallas Mopar Club's 41st Annual Southwest Mopar Nationals in Rolette, Texas. Go to the Dallas Mopar Club Facebook page for more information. The great state of Virginia, August 30th. Mopars in the Valley from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. at the Salem Civic Center. $20 pre-registration, $30 the day of the show. Rain date will be September 1st. Hosted by David Simmons and the Roanoke Valley Mopar Club. Search Roanoke Valley Mopar Club on Facebook for more information. Now, there's these two events put on by the same people in the great state of Wisconsin. August 15th, it's the Summer Car Show at City Dodge in Brookfield, Wisconsin. And on September 21st, it's the Mopar Swap Meet for the fall at Fox View Lanes in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Now, at that event, it's $5 general admission, $25 per swap meet, $10 for a car corral space. Hosting club for both these events is the Wisconsin Mopar Muscle Club. For further information, you can email them at wmmcmopar@gmail.com or search Wisconsin Mopars on Facebook or their website, wmmc.net. September 27th and 28th, it's the first annual Mopar Showdown at Rock Falls Raceway in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. You can go to moparshowdown.com for more information. You can also email them at info@moparshowdown.com. Or you can phone them 715-600-2326. That's 715-600-2326. The hosting club is the Midwest Mopars. Okay, now the final two stops for the Modern Street Hemi Shootout Series. The High Performance Incorporated and Drive Shaft Shop Modern Street Hemi Shootout Series, presented by Simple Speed and Performance, has only two events left, October 17th and 18th at Maryland International Raceway in Mechanicsville, Maryland. And their final stop is November 15th and 16th at Rockingham Dragway in Rockingham, North Carolina. HemiRace.com for more information. Well, thank you again so much for joining me here on the WaltPar Podcast. Thank you for sticking around for the event calendar. Again, you'll find these printed in the latest edition of the WPC News book, and you can get that by joining the Walter P. Chrysler Club. Go to chryslerclub.org for more information and rates. And thanks to Bill Adams Jr. for putting the schedule in on that. He's a great person. They're a great club. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Hope all is well, and we'll join you for episode 20 with Craig Lane coming up. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon for episode number 20.